And good evening, good evening. I hope you guys like my new intro stream. I'm checking the chat right now. Okay, there are already people here. Erie Alice, I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces. Soul 50, hi Soul 50. The Reg 24, I'm not sure if I'm familiar with you, but hello to you as well. Soul 50, you made a comment. I think maybe I read it, I forgot. But hello, anyways. And well, listen, all of this I can't pronounce, but I can pronounce corgi. And so, hello to you. All right, then. I'm very, very happy that you guys are here. Let's jump right in. Mars in the sixth house. All right, then. So, Mars is a malefic. And so, it always seeks to minimize the significations of whichever house it sits in. The sixth house is the house of battles, both external and internal. Battles against one's enemies, battles against one's vices, battles against one's diseases, but also battle against every man's and every woman's common foe, which is poverty. Because the sixth house has a lot to do with conquering the material plane, you know. The common enemy that most people on this earth have is poverty. Most people are trying to destroy the forces of poverty to arrive at a place of comfort. So Mars here would overall minimize these significations, but this is mostly Mars if it is well placed. A badly placed Mars would not be as successful in minimizing battles. Mars in the sixth house, when well placed, does not go out of its way to look for fights or battles. And actually, Mars in the sixth house behaves in a very diplomatic way whenever faced with conflict. This Mars is the least argumentative, and instead of looking for opportunities to contradict, it instead looks for ways of agreeing with his opponent as a means of pacifying them so matters do not escalate. Mars, when it is well placed, is not cowardly. Instead, it understands the art of how to diffuse situations before they become bigger than they are. But if Mars is badly placed in the charts, in the sixth house, it could end up starting unnecessary fights. When one may be oversensitive and perceive slights where none exist, and then proceed to insult, wrestle, or otherwise retaliate, and in so doing, one creates more commotion. So to reiterate, Mars here is interested in every strategy of resolving conflict, eliminating discussion, stopping any opportunity for arguments. And so Mars here would generally teach itself how to be pleasant and agreeable, but never a pushover. This is the sort of person that does not get offended easily and is mentally strong and emotionally stable. But do not mistake this pleasantness for an inability to defend itself. Mars in the sixth at its best is peaceful, but they are also strong and capable of decimating people more easily than any other placements. Mars in the sixth house calls to mind what is often said of dogs. It is often said that smaller dogs like Chihuahuas are more anxious, more sensitive, and therefore more prone to take offense and respond with violence. But bigger dogs, it is often believed, are calmer, more peaceful, more sociable, but this is because they are confident in their ability to defend themselves and to do damage when damage needs to be done. All right, then. So before we end this page, there's still this tiny paragraph here. Let us quickly review what we've written. So I've always said this. We've said this also in the Saturn through houses videos. Malefics minimize, benefics increase. So someone who has Mars in the sixth house, these are not argumentative people. These are not people who are out here looking to fight. These are not people who are out here looking to make a mess. Don't mess with them because they can cut you down. But generally speaking, they're peaceful, they're interested in conflict resolution. Now, somebody who has Jupiter or Venus or even Moon or Mercury in the sixth house, those are the people who love to fight. Fighting for them is fun. Fighting for them is something that they always find themselves doing. They will fight for their friends. They will go out of their way to defend other people, somebody else, their neighbor, their acquaintance, somebody that they meet in the park could be having an issue. They will go out of their way to fight for that person because they're just always looking for battles and they're always fighting. Because benefics are always increasing the significations of wherever house they sit in. Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, those are the wrestlers, those are the martial artists, those are the UFC fighters because they're always finding themselves in those type of situations. Mars in the sixth house are the diplomats, the people who are peaceful, the people who are interested in resolving conflicts, but you still don't want to mess with them. You still don't want to mess with them because they still have that Mars, because they still have that ability to defend themselves and fight. So, yeah. All right, then. 13 viewers, 13 concurrent viewers. Happy to have you guys here. Okay, I'm not sure if I understand Soul 50. I'm reading here for their own nakshatras, so I suggest that you can address Saturn all naks and the limits it imposes that we need to overcome address in a Patreon post so that it can cater to all at once. Oh, you want me to do Saturn through all the nakshatras in a Patreon post? Oof. My friends, I'd rather go about things the way that I'm going about them, which is for every nakshatra, I do all the planets through that nakshatra, But listen, if that is something that you guys really, really want, all right, cool. I can do that. I can do that as well. Iris Alice, I'm reading your comment right now. That explains a lot about how I've grown into the D9 6th house Vishaka Mars. I am often underestimated. I'm very kind and warm-hearted, but if they mess with vulnerable people, they're done for. The Vishaka flip. Okay. All right, then, let us go back to the document. The sixth house is a major house of struggle, and it relates to the everyday enemies we face in society, including thieves, liars, and cheaters. Mars specifically is the planet that subdues the material plane, conquers it, and forces it into submission. So in the sixth house, Mars becomes an excellent lie detector, being able to perceive dishonest individuals and knowing how to plan against them and around them. Mars is suspicious in a healthy way and is not easily tricked in this house because it develops an understanding of the rougher and more evil side of society. In general, Mars becomes very street smart. Mars is also, damn, excuse me for swearing. Mars also rules the sense of sights, and relating to critical thinking in the sixth house, it is overall very good at identifying untrustworthy characters, people of low integrity, hoodlums, delinquents, and other individuals of low reputes. Mars at its best here does not go out of its way to look for fights, but is very good at confronting and defeating people, whether physically, verbally, or through evidence-based argumentation. So again, in general, Mars here reduces one's interest in arguing and fighting, but makes one good at these activities nonetheless. The sixth house is the house of friends as well as enemies, the house where we find our ride or dies, those who are willing to sacrifice their lives to defend us. The sixth house is therefore the house of one's clans, gangs, teams, cliques, armies, posses, brotherhoods, and sisterhoods. Mars also has those significations. So what we see is that the sixth house has many of the same significations as Mars. Naturally, Mars is the Karaka of the sixth house, as well as the third. And Mars here suggests someone who is very skilled in the art of selecting strong and powerful allies for themselves. Mars in the sixth is highly selective of who it considers a friend, and then once selected, comes up with ways of making this group distinct or stand out. So, Mars here may want to assign a label or special name for one's group. It may want to select particular colors or symbols that serve as the group identifier. It may want to select certain spots, restaurants, or general areas that it demarcates as its own. It would want to constantly come up with specific group bonding activities that bind the members of the group to one another. These groups would be coveted, and those outside of it would beg to be given entry. Mars is also the planet specifically related to survival and gaining resources. And in the material world, one's reputation and one's image is one of the ways one does this. And so one would also carefully collect friends for the purpose of creating an idea of oneself as being powerful. One's friends would be one's entourage. But at its worst, Mars in the sixth house could collect fake friends. Friends that are not truly there to support one and defend one, but friends that are only there to benefit from one, to benefit from one's image, and to otherwise benefit from one's reputation. Mars, to reiterate, relates to the coming together of individuals who are each individually powerless so that they can become collectively powerful and achieve great things that they would not have been able to achieve alone. And this is something that is also related to the sixth house. And so Mars in the sixth can create friends of convenience that only associate themselves with you so long as you are powerful and they can benefit from you. Likewise, you yourself as a native with displacement, you could also behave in a fake way in order to gain. Hi, Blessed. Oh, so she has the spaceman, but she loves to battle and fight. Okay, interesting. Can you tell me what is her ascendant? Soul 50? Oh, you're this kind of friend that likes to sacrifice. Okay. But I've seen your chart as well, Blessed. There are many things in your chart that also suggest that. No, the 11th house is not it's not the house of friends in the same way that the 6th house. The 6th house is the friends that will actually have your back. The 11th house is just easy friends, friends that give you favors. You know, it's the house of acquaintances. That is what it is. The 6th house is really people who will bleed for you, you know what I mean? Your mother's ascendant is Pusha. So Cancer, and so that means that her Mars is in Cancer, Capricorn, Capricorn, Sagittarius. Okay, that's interesting. Hello, Blue Moon. All right then. Let us go back. Oh, look, we're almost finished. We're in the third page already. The sixth house also relates to those who slander us, gossip about us, or try to destroy our reputation and good social standing. Because, of course, within this civilized world, one of the most common ways that a person is attacked is obviously through gossip, right? Mars in the sixth, just like Mars in the tenth, would be very concerned with its image, very concerned with always appearing proper, conventional, and to never act in a way that is scandalous, rebellious, or otherwise reprehensible. Reprehensible. This way, it does not produce fodder for gossip that can then be used again, that can then be used to destroy one. In fact, this Mars in the sixth would even avoid people and individuals considered misfits or weird or odd or unconventional because it wouldn't want their negative reputation to rub off on it and then once again be vulnerable to the attacks of gossip and rumors. Mars, of course, is also the planet of attack and defense. If Mars is badly placed, you will find that it can create the sort of person that invents rumors and spreads gossip, whether true or false, about other people in order to ruin them. But this then backfires on the badly placed Mars in the sixth house native, creating for him or her many enemies. Other ways in which Mars in the sixth house reduces its significations is by coming off as strong and impressive. The stronger you appear, the less likely people are to mess with you. The smarter you seem, the less likely people are to contradict you. In general, if you seem robust and impressive, people will not challenge you, but only to a certain extent. Sometimes, if you seem too strong, too intelligent, too impressive, you come off as so threatening that people go out of their way to find your weaknesses so that you can seem less threatening to them. So a well-placed Mars will seem strong enough to not call challengers, but a badly placed Mars can go either way, either coming off as so weak that people bully you, or coming off as so strong that people now feel the need to cut you down somehow. A badly placed Mars can be so self-conscious of its own weaknesses that it can overcorrect itself and become so strong that it literally scares people with its strength, to such an extent that people feel the need to destroy them. Indeed, a native with Mars in the sixth looks tough. They look like someone you do not want to mess with or provoke. Such a placement immediately inspires respect and intimidation. In fact, people are so impressed by the mere appearance of you that instead of being your enemy, they would much rather be your friend and have you on their team. Such a placement, when well placed, suggests a very calm and serene individual. The sixth house is one of the major houses of anxiety and fear because enemies, disease, and poverty are three things that cause a great deal of fear in an individual. But to have Mars here blesses a native with a lot of confidence because one feels secure in one's ability to defend oneself against such things. And so instead of this house causing anxiety, it promotes peace of mind and comforts. All right then. Okay, you have D1 Pusha Mars between Pusha Venus and Jupiter. All of that in Pusha. Okay. Okay, Iris, just a second, because you've made a few comments over here. Feels so much betrayal. Iris, I want to go back to some of your comments because now, since you're sharing more things about your chart, all right. So let me think for a little bit about the things that you're saying, Iris. Iris, I don't even know how you pronounce your handle. I don't even know how you pronounce your handle. When you have Mars in Pusha, see, here's one of the things that Pusha does. Pusha, out of all the Saturn nakshatras and out of pretty much every nakshatra, is the one that is the most concerned with finding your own flaws. In fact, what ends up happening when you have Pusha placements is that your flaws become very obvious to you, but they become very obvious to everybody else. Pusha is one of those nakshatras that it does not let you get away with things. You know what I mean? Like other nakshatras, if you're a liar, those nakshatras and the energy of those nakshatras will mask it. Other nakshatras, when you have other weaknesses and vulnerabilities, they will help you mask it. But Pusha will always expose you. When you have a lot of Pusha placements, you're the type of person that other people are constantly criticizing you because your flaws are so obvious to them. You know what I mean? And one of the bad things about having Mars in Pusha is that since Mars has a lot to do with your enemies can easily identify your flaws. And so they're constantly trying to attack you because they can easily identify your flaws. You know what I mean? And so that's one of the negative things of having Mars in Pusha, because it exposes your vulnerabilities too much. But of course, your Mars is not fully debilitated because Jupiter is conjuncted, and so that benefits it. But at the same time, Venus is also conjunct Mars and Jupiter, and Venus is an enemy to those planets, so there's that. So yeah, many of the things that you're attributing to your D9 Mars and Vishaka Iris, I strongly suspect that it's actually your Pusha Mars and this confusion between Venus and Jupiter. And again, Iris, because Pusha Mars is saved by Jupiter, also in Pusha, the thing that is really harming your Mars in Pusha is not the fact that it's in Cancer, it's the fact that it's conjunct Venus. And also what's hurting your Jupiter is the fact that it's conjunct Venus. And also what's hurting your Venus is the fact that it's conjunct all those planets. So yeah, that's a problem there. No, Scorpio 6th house does not count, not nearly as much. Because planets, here's something that Vic DiCaro talks about, and I really took this to heart. I watched this video of his years ago, and I carry it with me up until now. He says that planets are souls, signs are bodies, and houses are areas of life. And so, since the planet is the soul, since planets are souls, a planet sitting in a house will always carry much more powerful effects. You have Rahu conjunct Mars. So here's something that Rahu conjunct Mars does. First and foremost, it suggests that your Rahu and your Mars are badly placed. Rahu is a paralyzing planet. It's a very, very anxious planet. Rahu being conjunct Mars suggests that you are very anxious about all things that have to do with Mars. Listen, I don't want to insult you, but it also suggests cowardice, because there's a part of you that is fascinated by battles. There's a part of you that is fascinated by attacking other people. But the reality, the lived reality of actually challenging others, confronting others, scares you. So it's something that simultaneously fascinates you, but when it comes to actual real opportunities to do that, you feel paralyzed. You know, you like to daydream of yourself as a hero, but the reality of you is a little bit more cowardly. That's usually what it suggests. You know something that's so funny, Soul 50? Pusha is literally one of the most common nakshatras in the UFC. You know, Pushas love to fight. Anuradhas as well. And Uttarabhadras as well. Those nakshatras on their own, yeah, they are very confrontational. They are very violent. They can be, yeah. But that's for a future video. Yes, the 12th house is also a house of hidden enemies. The 6th house is a house of your exposed enemies. But I'm going to talk about that like right now. In that case, that must be something else, Lady D. I would ask you, where's your Saturn? Where's your Mars? I would ask you, where's your 6th Lord? And I would also ask you, where are your functional malefics? So there are various other ways. So here's a general rule. A general rule is that your enemies correspond to your areas of vulnerability. Your enemies correspond to your areas of vulnerability. And actually, in my document, I'm going to talk about that a little bit. In fact, let me save that for when I talk about that in my document. Lady D, I'm going to address that comment right now. What if Mars and Rahu are in the 6th house in Libra? That makes Mars' situation even worse, because Mars is neutral to Libra, and Mars, if you have Libra 6th house, that means you have Taurus ascendant, and that means that Mars is a Maraka. It is a death-causing planet. It is a death-causing planet. So yeah, it actually does not make things better. It does, however, make things better for Rahu. Oh, Erie Alice. Okay. She has Mars, Jupiter, and the sixth house, and she is very competitive and hostile, but she pretends to herself that she isn't. Oh, that's very interesting. So she's unaware that she has those qualities. Okay. You are not wrong, Blue Moon. Mars is also fear and also cowardice. How very perceptive of you. I like that. I like that. Hi, Blessed. Yes, my readings are open. I stopped my mini readings, but my full readings at this moment are open. Yes. So you can email me. If you want my email, it is over here 12.hidden.octave@gmail.com. Rose. 10 house Pisces Uttara with the moon and 8 house Saturn. Suitable me, it seems. I'm too polite with them, but I try to hold my tongue, but I can't way too much. Every Jupiter in the six you know is a know-it-all. Victikar is a very good astrologer. I like him. Really? How does he use the sun signs? See, I don't deal with retrogrades. I'm just going to repeat what a lot of astrologers say. Retrogrades apparently make things more intense. So that's what they say. And yes, sixth house Mars Cancer is going to make things worse. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. These are a lot of comments. I have to go back to my documents. Hi, Heavenly Sims. Saturn Nakshatras, first and foremost, they are very good at confronting themselves and confronting their own inner enemies. And confronting your own inner enemies corresponds a lot to confronting external enemies. All right. Okay. Sorry, I've been here for a long time. Let's go back. Where were we? Anyway, when we finish, we can read comments endlessly. Naturally, the sixth house relates to health and disease. And the planet posited here, the planet posited there, can tell us a lot about a person's vulnerabilities and places where they are susceptible to health issues. So, as a general rule, malefic things, malefic planets, malefic houses, they are malefics because they also tell us about what our weaknesses are, our vulnerabilities. They are malefics, they attract bad things because bad things are related to our areas of vulnerabilities, which we're going to read about a little bit right now. So, Mars here can suggest a person susceptible to torn muscles, cholera, hemorrhoids, nosebleeds, ulcers, fevers, inflammation, and also miscarriages. Notice that all of these have to do with blood as a vulnerability. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them have to do with blood as a vulnerability. When you have Mars in the sixth house, it could be that anything to do with your blood is an area of vulnerability. One's enemies will always search and attack one's areas of weakness and vulnerabilities. In fact, they dare to attack us because they believe they've identified these areas. So, the third, the sixth, the eighth, the 11th, the 12th, these are generally considered bad houses in astrology. Although it is said of the 8th and the 12th that these are fluid houses, so there's that. But in any case, the 3rd, the 6th, the 8th, the 11th, the 12th, as well as Saturn, and generally speaking, badly placed planets are all areas that attract enemies because they are all areas of vulnerability. But the major houses of vulnerability are the 6, which are enemies, and the 12th, which are hidden enemies. And since we have enemies in correspondence with our weaknesses, the 6 is our known weaknesses, and the 12 are the weaknesses we are unaware of. So going on. The 6th house can tell us of our obvious areas of vulnerability that, if we do not work on them, we become easy prey for people who are better than us in that area. Mars, as a natural malefic, becomes very self-critical of itself, studying its body, its intelligence, its habits for all areas of weakness to correct it. If, for example, the Mars in the 6th native believes itself to be physically weak, it will develop a program of working out to strengthen the body. If it knows itself to be messy, it will consciously develop organizational and cleanliness skills. This is the sort of person that is always studying himself for any flaw, always listening to others when they point out his errors, and in correcting himself, he makes himself invincible to attack. Okay, so now what we're going to read here are going to be a few examples of the relationship between your weaknesses and your enemies. So starting off. If you are physically weak, your enemies are going to be strong people that bully you. So there's a relationship between you being a physically weak person, a short person, a scrawny person, a skinny person, and having enemies that are muscular, taller than you, larger than you, because your physical weakness calls the attention of people who are physically strong to attack you. If you are socially weak, your enemies are going to be popular kids, because since your lack of popularity is your area of vulnerability, you're going to attract people who recognize that, and that because they have more power than you in that area, they attack you. If you're not a very intelligent person, your enemies are going to be those who are smarter than you. And our last little example here, if you are a very gullible and naive person, your enemies are going to be liars and deceivers. Every liar's favorite person is a gullible person. Every deceiver's favorite person is a naive person. Liars love people who easily believe anything. Liars love people who, are easily manipulated. The type of person that a liar dislikes the most are people who are suspicious, people who have a lot of critical thinking skills, people who are not easily emotionally manipulated, because obviously that is not an area of advantage for them. So our enemies always correspond to our weaknesses. So now let me go back to this comment that somebody made that I said I was going to go back to. Lady D. Where is that comment? There's a comment that Lady D made somewhere. No, where was it? Now I can't find it. Okay, well, and I can't, whatever. Let me instead write what I was going to say. So in astrology, there's a relationship, here I am repeating myself again, between your area of weakness and enemies. There's a relationship between your area of weakness and enemies, because you're going to have the most enemies where you have areas of weakness. And so Mars as a malefic oftentimes represents an area of weakness. Saturn, which is a greater malefic, represents an even greater area of weakness. And where you have Saturn can sometimes suggest your absolute worst enemies, the most evil people. Because where you have Saturn is usually where you are so underdeveloped that you attract the most abusive, evil people, that recognize that you're so underdeveloped in that area, and then they take advantage of that to destroy you. Ketu and Rahu can also be here. I think I'll put them before Saturn. Ketu also, because Ketu represents your unconscious behavior that you're not even aware that you're doing. And because of that, that's another area that you can be vulnerable. And then Rahu, because Rahu also represents an area of ignorance and underdevelopment. But beyond these planets, there are also houses. The sixth house, which is a Dushtana house, represents an area of vulnerability for you. You're so vulnerable in that area that you quite literally get sick easily. You know, whatever planet is related there, whatever the Lord is placed, it suggests an area of such vulnerability that literally you get sick in that area. The sixth house, the 12th house, which is hidden enemies, whereas the sixth house are the vulnerabilities that you are aware of, the 12th house are the vulnerabilities that you're not aware of, and the 12th house also produces some of the most evil enemies. I mean, imagine that. You are so underdeveloped and you are so weak in the area in relation to your 12th house that you're actually ignorant of it. So you best believe you're so vulnerable in that area that you have like some of the worst enemies. So 6th and 12th. Mostly it is the 6th and 12th, but there's also the 11th. There's also the third to the least extent. And then there's the 11th house as well. But then besides these, there are also, generally speaking, badly placed planets and also functional malefics. In fact, actually, I'm putting all these exclamation points because functional malefics, more than any of these other things, are the greatest area of vulnerability. Now, let me come up with one or two examples. Let us say that your Mercury is badly placed. If your Mercury is badly placed, one of the things that a badly placed Mercury can do to a person is it can make a person a liar. You know, you're a person who, unfortunately, you compulsively lie. You know, you could lie for many reasons. You lie because you think it's funny. You lie because you enjoy playing games with people. You lie to develop a sense of control over other people. Yeah, you lie for various reasons. But the point is that you lie. But the thing is that you think that your lying is funny. Your lying is exposing an area of vulnerability that your enemies will notice, and your enemies will take advantage of you and then destroy you. Let us say that your Venus is badly placed. One of Venus's worst qualities is being very, very lustful. You can become a very, very lustful person. And so if Venus is your most badly placed planet, you will attract enemies that are aware of your lustful nature and will take advantage of that, and then they will enslave you. Etc., 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 etc. So let me go check the comments here. Now I know that I'm lost because now I know that I don't know where we are. So, okay. Saturn is also fear, actually, Blue Moon. Saturn is great fear, actually. Saturn is greater fear than Mars, and Rahu is also greater fear than Mars, but Saturn is also depression. No, you're lying, Lala. I think I've seen you before, or am I wrong? But wow, Iran, much love. Thank you. Wow. Lady D, tell me something. Are her Mars and Jupiter conjunct her K2? You know something, Lady D, it's very interesting that you say that she's simultaneously extremely competitive, yet she's unaware of it. Because isn't that so stereotypically K2? Because K2 is unconscious behavior. K2 is being very, very, very good at doing things in relation to that placement. And it's obvious to everybody that you are constantly doing those things and you're good at those things. But the only person that is unaware of that is you. And so how very interesting. How very interesting. I wonder if these planets are specifically conjunct or K2, Lady D. Venus, Saturn, Mars in 6th house conjunct Mars, closely conjunct. You're very good with technology. Wait, Manu Music Miss. Aren't you the person that said you have Rahu conjunct Mars in the sixth? That's very interesting that you're good with technology. I'm not surprised that you don't take care of your body because quite literally to have Rahu in the sixth house conjunct Mars, it suggests that. It immediately suggests that. Because Rahu and Saturn are our greatest, especially Rahu, our greatest areas of underdevelopment. And so it would make sense. Very sad to hear. Very sorry to hear. Saturn and Mars are enemies. Mars does not like Gemini, and so Mars is very, very badly placed there. And if you have a Gemini sixth house, that means that you have a Cancer fourth house and a Capricorn ascendant. So not only is Mars badly placed, but Mars is also a functional malefic. So Mars is causing a lot of harm in the sixth house. It can suggest that you have a lot of enemies, actually. And it can suggest that you're actually being manipulated by people that you don't even see. Oh, you had to do surgery as well. Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that. You have Mars and Gemini. So not only if you have Mars and Gemini, then Mars is yeah. Because for a Capricorn ascendant, and I'm pretty sure you're a Capricorn ascendant, Mars is one of the most dangerous and cursed planets. And so it really is a great area of vulnerability. And so I'm very sorry to hear that. Very, very sorry to hear that. Oh yes, this is what you said. And then I asked Lady D. I asked if oh, but then for me to ask that, I would have to analyze your whole chart, and I can't be doing that on stream. So, but in any case, it's I'm sure the question is easy to resolve. I'm sure the question of why does you have many enemies is easy to resolve. All right, I think we can go back to finish this document. Thank you, Blessed. Thank you so much. I'm trying to like your comment, but I don't think it's possible. All right, let's go back. Let us go back to finish this. Whew. So, where were we? The sixth house is also the house of sin, along with the 11th house, but for different reasons. The sixth house is the house of sin because sins are our vulnerabilities: lust, greed, gluttony, pride, etc. Having Mars here suggests someone who is a saint. One becomes angelic, saintly, and morally perfect because one studies one's evils, one's errors, and one's sins, and one makes a project of cleaning oneself of these sins. So yeah, like I said earlier on, Mars relates to the sixth house are our external enemies, but also our internal enemies. And it also relates to how our inner weaknesses correspond to our external enemies. So, for that reason, the sixth house has a lot to do with sin. Since Mars is constantly reducing the significations of the sixth house, Mars relates to the various strategies that we develop to destroy our sins. You know, of course, if Mars is badly placed, it struggles to do that. But Mars, being the planet of domination and subjugation, understands also how to bring others into submission. Because here in the sixth, he pays very close attention to other people's areas of vulnerability and either helps them to correct themselves or, at its worst, takes advantage of them and controls and defeats them. So yeah, because Mars in the six is constantly paying attention to vulnerabilities and areas of weakness, one of the reasons why it ends up dominating and destroying everybody is because, like, for example, if I have Mars in the sixth house, I am more aware of your weaknesses than you are aware of your weaknesses, which means that I can easily destroy you. You know what I mean? And so yeah, there we have it. Mars in the sixth. Mars in the sixth house. If you have 12th Lord in first house, it suggests that you are especially unaware of some of your weaknesses, which means that you are probably being controlled or maneuvered or manipulated without your realizing. Because it gives power to the 12th house when you have something in first. I mean, I can see that, but yeah. I'm not sure if you're thanking me, Menu Music Miss, but if you are, thank you. Ooh. Very interesting terms. Greatest form. I've heard astrologers say that that Ketu is an angry form of Mars, and the Rahu is an angry form of Saturn. I actually love the fact that you guys are having your own conversation here in the chat. I'm actually trying to follow along with you guys' conversation. No, my Patreon is not free, blessed. My Patreon. Well, I mean, apparently there's also a free option because that's what Patreon on its own does. But like, no, my Patreon, it's the regular $10 a month. Actually, let us plug in my Patreon. Why not? Please follow me on Patreon. My Patreon is, for those of you who can pronounce Portuguese names, Dercio Luxuxa. Try to pronounce that, Dercio. I'm sure most of you can't. Please become a member. 203 posts. There is, of course, the $10 option for most people, and for anybody who wishes to have me as their personal astrologer, uh, there is the fee, 300K. 9 remaining slots. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to the people who are my members, both the $10 members and the $300 members. Neptune is the reason for what? And yeah, I mean, listen, I also don't deal with Neptune, so. Well, of course it protects you. It is literally Mars's mantra, and since you literally said you suffer from low blood pressure and other such things, I can understand. But I think that there's a better mantra for you, actually. Take your time, Lady D. Yes, this will also apply to Mars in the 12th house, but of course, it's going to carry more of that hidden quality. If the sixth is the body and health, and Mars can be robust, could this suggest a robust body? Yes, of course, it could just a very robust body if it is well placed. Thank you, Soul 50. Love your participation. I don't know what it is that I mentioned, and I don't know what it is that you're saying that makes sense, but thank you anyway. Okay, anyway, I think that we can end this live stream. Oh, great! Learn Portuguese. That would be so awesome. Thank you, blessed. I do speak Portuguese. Okay, anyway, it's great. It's great you're sharing your knowledge in depth. No one really gives much nitty gritty details. Oh well, thank you very much. Ping pings J5D. All right. Anyway, thank you guys so much for participating. Love you guys.